of all, congratulations on the new album. I've heard it already. I mean, it's not out till January. I was listening to it again yesterday, and it's fantastic. I really, really, I mean, it's completely fresh, but it really, really feels like going back to the original K albums, very much so.
Okay.
Obviously, your sound hasn't, it's kind of evolved, but it's also kind of kept that kind of Kula Shaker psychedelia in there all the way through. But I'm quite curious, was it very specific this time that it was kind of important to go back to your roots? I kind of get the feeling that maybe because of AI, kind of we're battling with AI at the moment, it was even more so important to kind of keep that kind of raw live energy in the album to kind of to compete with all this kind of AI, easy to kind of recreate, repeat other bands and other styles of music.
I don't think we were really worrying about AI.
Uh-huh.
Um, that's a more recent conversation that's happened. Even in the last 6 months, it seems to be very much of the time. But we just started in 2023. We made Natural Magic with Jay Darlington
Yeah,
back.
going
He
back again.
returned from a lost weekend with Oasis, and we had done quite a lot of sort of proggy stuff. We had written, we'd done a folk album, and we'd done, some slightly progressive tracks. And we, with Natural Magic, we went right back, and we were doing, pop songs, 3 minutes, and very tight arrangements, and trying to get as much energy and as much storytelling into 3 minutes. And with this record, we kind of mixed and merged those two worlds a little bit more in terms of intros and outros and lead breaks and instrumentals, but always feeling like you have a very strong, tight song arrangement that is, everything is built around. But it comes from playing live.
Sure.
We are the same band. You're absolutely right. But there's a sense of time and circumstance that is definitely, we feel connected to the present, and it feels like a good time to be making music.
Uh-huh. I mean, I know on various occasions you said that a lot of people thought that you were ahead of your time. It was kind of almost prescient, and kind of this you kind of were the kind of like the unexpected surprise in Britpop specifically when you kind of emerged, and you were kind of like different because it was so psychedelic, so different. Do you think there's kind of a revival of that kind of music now with other bands as well as yourself? And where do you kind of find yourself fitting in now with things like Oasis and these kind of bands coming back again now?
Well, we were never really a nostalgic band, even though we were very retro and we liked our vintage tastes. And we were drawing a lot from classic rock bands and Beatles and Santana and Deep Purple and those kind of
Yeah.
Hammond driven rock bands. We were always mixing it up with a sense of storytelling and ideas that felt timely. And so I think even if you are playing music that kind of has its roots in very much in the past, you can still be of your time as long as you can connect with people on an emotional level, or in terms of powerful ideas. And the psychedelic movement is still going because it's all about breaking outside of the confines of what is the conventional wisdom, or what is the conformed position. It's all
Uh-huh.
about breaking new ground, and there's always a spiritual element to it because the soul doesn't want to be uh, bound by the body. The soul's looking for its identity outside of the body, beyond this kind of worldly confines. So we never really thought of it as just old fashioned. We were just using that as our dress, so to speak.
Uh-huh. I mean, you mentioned that you want your music to kind of to transcend and to meet people and for them to kind of get your messages. But I mean, obviously, from the people that have been with you from day one, that's not going to be that's a given. They're going to be able to kind of resonate. That the songs will resonate with them. But I'm quite curious, especially with kind of newcomers, younger people who have got this usually a very short attention span. No, have you kind of factored that into the way that you write and produce music nowadays?
Not really, because I think pop music already caters for the attention span, and you have to have something immediate that grabs people. Any good film or book or song will have that focus on the first page. And you know that's the nearest anybody's ever got to understanding what a hit is. It's just got to grab you. It might be a lyric, it might be you know a theme, you know, but it's just gotta have some kind of visceral impact. Nobody knows what that is. There is no formula.
Yeah.
Um, but you have to make sure that the first 15 seconds are exciting.
Pull you in. No, yeah, exactly. I mean, like you've always said that you've admired psychedelic records that kind of combine the strong songwriting, compelling production, and this immersive storytelling. And kind of Wormslayer does that, like all of the other albums have done. But this one is kind of it kind of it switches maybe a lot more than previous ones, even though they were very wide in scope. This was even wider because it kind of goes through psychedelia, gothic, croon, pastoral folk, and even mantra metal. There's kind of that touches of kind of Rage Against the Machine guitars and things going on there. Some of the songs. So I'm quite curious how what it was that specifically anchored you for this record to make sure that the record felt like a complete whole at the same time as being so expansive.
Well, it's the sound of the band. You know what? All my favorite albums, they all drift into different styles and characters. Nobody wants to wear the same clothes every day, you
Yeah.
know. And you know, with a band like this, we like to drift here and there into different styles. But the band has a sound, and it's the pushing and the pulling between the drums and the guitar, and the way that Alonza on the bass and Jay on the organ kind of fill that sound out.
Uh-huh. At the same time, you also revived an old classic, one an old
Hold on
classic.
a
You
sec.
got it. Sorry. Yep.
So sorry, my kids just started blasting out.
It's okay, no problem. It's just started pouring down here as well. So I don't know if you can hear it. It's just started pouring down here as well. So no, but what I was saying is that you've also managed to you've revived an old song that you hadn't realized was a classic, but it is quite a classic among some of your diehard fans, which is "Be Merciful." It's got a 20-year history there. Can you tell me a little bit about where that suddenly kind of that desire to bring it into this album came from?
Well, whenever you make a record, you go back to the bottom drawer,
Yeah,
and you look at what is unfinished. Any writer will you know will have you know stuff that's unfinished. I got a chorus here, and I've got a riff that I never used, and you always go back and see what stuff you missed, and be merciful. I had done an acoustic recording of it with Mark Pritchard, who I had worked with for a while in the noughties when I had left the band and I didn't know what I was doing. I was
right,
completely lost, and and we got on really well, and he's from Devon, and I used to go down and work with him in his little studio in the Hobbit Hole, as I called it.
right,
And he put some spooky mellotron flutes on it and some lovely ambience, and it did get a little indie release, but it was, I mean, it's pretty obscure,
yeah,
and it was one of those songs that the band had never played it. You know, we'd never really performed it live. We'd done it occasionally, and it just fitted alongside the Wormslayer, story. It just felt good, and so we played it, and now we've got like the full band version.
No, it's great. I mean, I wrote a review on about it the other day, and I said that it's a potential gig and the final song to take over from the one that you usually play because it really does get that big as well.
Yeah,
Is that is that a song that you ever considered shifting to the end? Because I know that you like to stick with one specific song right at the very end. But is there any chance that maybe that one or another one on this album might take over?
you never know. Well, we haven't tried it with an audience yet,
Oh, you haven't.
so we'll soon find out.
Uh,
Occasionally, we've always ended with Govinda because
yeah,
it's like the congregational kind of vibe. But we were doing it, and people were asking for more, and we'd come on and we said, "What do we play?" We started playing Groovers in the Heart, which was pretty good because I got the Swanee whistle,
right.
and so that really where do you go after Govinda? You got to bring out some kind of bag of tricks.
And you mentioned that you didn't know where you were going when Kula Shaker split when you split up the band. Um, but then I think it was you did actually want to release some solo material on your own, but it was considered not commercial enough. Is that right?
Yeah, I was pretty lost. I was pretty confused. I mean, I didn't really split up the band. I just left, and
Yeah, I mean the band split up. Sorry, yeah.
everybody kind of assumed that, that was the end. So, but I was still technically signed to Sony, but I did a track called Healing Hands for them, and I did Be Merciful, and they didn't like any of it. They didn't want to release any
Right.
of it. And they kept saying, just go and go back in the studio, go back and run up some more bills. And I actually started to think that the MD, didn't like me and wanted me to just stay in sort of the equivalent development hell. Started to
Mhm.
get pretty paranoid.
But did they not give you any specific pointers, like another shower your love, or did they give any kind of specific pointers of the kind of songs that they wanted you to come up with?
Not really. They were not very
No,
helpful. But luckily, the manager of the Jeevers managed to
Jeeves are fantastic. Yeah.
get me out of that. And then Jeevers was a new lease of life because it was just a three piece.
Uh-huh.
And, and again, it was like really tight songwriting and just put a record out, play some music, and don't overthink it. As
Yeah.
if you and people keep saying no, no, no. But the people, the suits, they won't even let you have a small kind of low key release. They're waiting for something they just don't know what it is. It's not helpful, and it makes you self-conscious,
Yeah.
and actually will just destroy you. So
Uh-huh.
you have to be able to play with some joy and spontaneity. If that gets killed, you're finished.
Uh-huh. So I'm guessing that's why you managed to release so many LPs over the past 3 or 4 years. It's just non-stop. Where's that kind of new lease of life come from? Would you
Because
say?
we made a record in during COVID mania. We were going to call it COVID mania. No, we ended up calling it the First Congregational Church of Eternal Love and Free Hugs. We wanted to come up with the longest, most unmemorable title. Memorable in that you can remember that you can't remember it. And so we just wrote non-stop since then, and it does feel like a good time to be playing music because in so many ways the um live music is struggling, and if that's what you do, and musicians are all struggling just because there's no real money in the business
Yeah.
anymore. All businesses are being taken over, and the cost of everything has gone up. So it's not like musicians are a special case,
Yeah.
but they're definitely more they're very visible in that they've been screwed by the algorithms. They've been screwed by streaming. They're being threatened with AI, although I don't believe that will ever replace. So that's a lot of hype.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But it does feel like an exciting time to really double down and doing what you do, because it's a good time to be playing this kind of music that is a bit wild and a bit and it's quite romantic about rock and roll.
Uh-huh. I mean, you mentioned there that you don't think AI will kind of take over music. I'm curious. I was just watching an interview with the director Gore Verbinski the other day, and he said that generative AI is stripping humanity of its desire to engage with the arts, to actually engage with it. So, do you think maybe in that way, maybe it could kind of wipe out how people get engaged with musicians at the end of the day?
Yeah. Well, he's got a point. I think you're looking at the big picture really. The big picture is AI stripping us of our humanity, period.
Yeah,
Because it's just everything is derivative, and the human interaction is reduced. No one's got anything to say. I mean, you can look at it doom and gloom, or you can take the exact opposite and say, this is why people will appreciate the real thing, and why people will want to create the real thing. And what the danger is that AI makes it really hard for people to make a living or to be free to say what they want to say. I think that's also more the point, to be to be free to experiment, to be free to protest when everything is monitored, everything is controlled, and everything is digitized, and AI is running the show.
yeah,
That's genuinely terrifying, and everybody should be pushing back against that, because the arts, they're just like they're just like a creative way of people being able to communicate with each other. It's like people talking in the pub. It's the same principle. It's just a communicating ideas. Yeah, I feel like that too. Yeah, that and if that gets censored, then we're finished. But there'll always be rebels, and I'm with those guys.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about, I mean, you said it's very important to get the message across. There's quite a few messages that are quite very literal and that's kind of in your face. I mean, for example, Good Money is a fable about a winged boy who's kind of part miracle, part commodity. I'm quite curious how much of that is self-referential. And was there kind of a chip on your shoulder when you were writing that song specifically?
No, no chips. No,
No?
it was based on a short story that's been in my family for years. My grandma was a writer, and she wrote a lot of stories about a loss of innocence, or the struggle to keep your innocence and your sort of childlike wonder about the world, the struggle to keep that in the face of all of this nonsense from the grown-ups, whether it's war, or whether it's the kind of straitjacket of what expectation of the grown-up world. And she wrote this beautiful little story in the late 70s when she was living in Ireland about a grows wings and how people treat him. And he doesn't even know what's happening to him. And some people think he's an angel. Some people think he's a freak. Some people think he's an opportunity to make money. And it's just like there's so much symbolism there. You can make of it what you want.
Yeah.
And,
Uh-huh.
and it speaks to everybody. Everybody has that winged child. Everybody has that kind of magical being in them. Everyone remembers what it's like to be a kid, before the grown-up world kind of put like this it's a straitjacket on you.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that story. I've always
Uh-huh.
loved it. It's never I was trying to make it as a film for years, but
It's curious you say that because I've actually seen a film. It's very, very similar, which I was going to recommend to you. Now I think it's coming to Shudder early next year. It's by Paolo Stripoli. He did the horror story, which I think is on Netflix. called The Holy Boy, and it's about this adolescent guy who they people think that if they hug him, they can be cured of their ailments and these kind of things. But of course, there are certain people in the same village where he lives who want to make the most out of him, make as much money as possible. It's a really, really good film if you've not seen it. Yeah.
I'll check it out. It's one of those stories that's been around in various forms,
Uh-huh.
and all the great stories, they've all been told before.
I'll be told one way or another. Yeah, yeah. Like the new Frankenstein movie is fantastic as well, for example. So, I mean, talking of film, and obviously you directed two films. You wrote and directed two films. It's been a little while since the last one. Is there, like you said, you were interested in making a film out of this story that your grandmother written? Are there any other stories that you've got percolating that you would like to maybe make a movie or something similar with?
Well, I'm not really a gun for hire, so the only stuff that I've done has been stuff that I've written, or I've been involved in the writing, and I've been very it's very personal projects, and anybody who's been in film knows that they take years and years and years and years
Yeah.
to get made. And there's such a long, crazy process. If you look at Ridley Scott or somebody or anybody with a high output, they have a production company and they have like 20 films, 25 films on their slate, books that they've optioned, that they own the rights to exploit, or different things in different stages of development, sequels, and you can't, it's not just that they're greedy, it's that you never know which one is gonna
Come
get
next. Yeah.
made.
Yeah.
So if you only have one or maybe two at any time, you're going to be hanging around. Hello. Um, so I've only made a couple of films, and I was lucky enough to work with Simon Pegg on the first one. We just stayed mates. We really enjoyed working
Uh-huh.
together, and I spent the last few years actually trying to make a TV show with him called
Right.
Technicolor Time Machine. And that a lot of work has gone into that. So let's see.
Uh-huh. Oh, that'd be good. Yeah, yeah. I also, I mean, talking of filmmaking, you let monkeys loose on one of your music videos. I'm very, very curious about how you came about making the Good Money video with monkeys. How did it actually work? Because I mean, it just says that it was created entirely by two AI monkeys. How did it actually come to be that video? How did it come
Oh,
about?
they were real monkeys. Oh well, because I did a video for the song Broker's Folk, and we filmed it all in camera down here in Cornwall. And there was even a very lucky moment where we had a galleon pass by. It's come from Seville,
Right?
and it was like a sort of exhibition. It was a working galleon, and they were just coming around the bay, and we sent the drone out to film this galleon, and we worked it into the story. And I climbed a cliff at one point, and it was a real labor of love. And there was a few comments who they just assumed it was AI.
Right.
And we just thought, this is so weird. This is the opposite of how it's supposed to be. The threat was people are going to believe everything they see, all this AI stuff. They're going to believe it and it's not real. And with us, it was the inverse of that. So nobody was believing all this real stuff. So let's the next one, we're just going to do it full AI and see what people make of that. And so the joke was we had two monkeys and we just give them a keyboard and some AI software and see what they come up with. So
They pulled it off nicely.
the monkeys keep appearing throughout the video, like flying jets and doing bizarre things, as if it's sort of like the dream of the monkey. It was one of our best actually in the end.
Before I let you go, I need to talk about kind of you've got quite a few concerts coming up. I know that you've got some really, really stripped back shows that you're gonna be playing very soon. What was the idea about that? Was it just kind of because of kind of the fact that musicians depend so heavily on concerts now. You want to kind of be able to make sure that people were able to see you and in kind of more closer quarters.
Well, it's more to do with plugging the album and giving people an opportunity to buy the album, get it signed, and to have an event, you know. So rather than just turn up and sign some records, we're going to do a little show and play some deep cuts and you know, be musical and not just be a bunch of you know, promo whores.
No, it must be great to get back. I mean, especially I think the first one is the Liverpool Cavern. Now it must be great to be able to get back and kind of really be in close contact with people, especially nowadays
Yeah.
where everyone's so far from each other and over the
Yeah,
internet.
I mean, exactly. And it's because of the way things have gone with streaming and just generally the state of our society. Any opportunity you can get to stand in front of your audience and play some music is a an opportunity. So we're going to do that, and then there'll be a full tour in the new year in January, February, March in UK and in Europe, and
Yeah,
then festivals, and then at the end of next year is our anniversary of our first record.
30th anniversary. Okay, yeah,
So
which is crazy. Yeah, can't believe it.
it is crazy, yeah. Don't look down. Keep going.
But have you got anything planned for that though to celebrate? Anything
Yeah,
specific?
yeah, we're going to have a party, I think, for
Uh-huh.
that.
But have you found yourself kind of revisiting those songs, maybe thinking of anything that you would like to kind of do with those, maybe rework them or reimagine them something for kind of to go in line with kind of Wormslayer type?
I think that what people have been asking us for a long time to do a proper live album, and that's always been a consideration. But you know, it's just that we've had 30 years of playing as a band, playing those songs.
Yeah,
Um, so obviously they've definitely evolved over that time, and there's the way we approach it is slightly different here and there, but we're definitely going to do something around the anniversary towards the end of next year.
I mean, you said don't look down there, but just to finish off, what would today's Crispian say to the Crispian just before he released K 30 years ago?
Yeah, there's people have been quite a lot actually. Obviously, it's meant to be. I should take it seriously because the joke was don't listen to your future self. That was one word of advice. There's no, you know, there's no such thing as that kind of hindsight. You know, life's all about, you know, going out there and just trying to being genuine. I mean, we were genuine about what we were doing. We didn't really take ourselves seriously, but we took our music seriously.
Yeah,
And the same thing then that we do now is you've got to play every show like it's, you know,
your first one.
could be your last,
Yeah,
and you have to, whether you're playing to 25 people or you know, 20,000 people, you've got to win them over. You got to create a happening. You got to
uh-huh.
open the dimensional doorway, you know, and let the magic come through, you know. And sometimes, you know, you feel it. It's definitely happening tonight. You
Yeah,
get
no, yeah. A lot of actors that I speak to, they always say that. There's certain, especially certain venues that you know that certain people have played at before as well. They kind of you can feel their ghost there and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, talking of magic, I must not forget to mention that also on these European dates, I think you've got the Mad Alchemist Liquid Light show is going to be accompanying you. Can you kind of tell people what that entails?
Well, I've been following the Mad Alchemists on Instagram for a few years, and I eventually managed to get hold of him, and we hooked up for a show. And he's just the best guy. I mean, he's like something from Apocalypse Now. He's
Right.
like one of those guys. You weren't there, man. You know, he's definitely seen way too much, that guy. But he's you know, he worked with Rocky Erickson from 34 Elevators. I mean, the guy's got some lore, put it that way. And he
Mhm.
does the classic original style of oil liquid lights, you know, with the bowl and the oil and the ink and the drops, where you drop the spherical glass onto the oil and you spin it, and you can get it to sort of, you know, uh, um, sort of throb, you know, with the music, and it's a proper performance. But he
Yeah, yeah.
has big bright lights and bright projectors and lenses, things that they just didn't have back then. So it's kind of a 21st century immersive thing. We did a gig with him in San Francisco, and you know, he just filled this theater. So everyone was like they were in this psychedelic womb. And you know, people were cheering for the light show, which, you know, you're
Yeah.
just never gonna get that.
Mhm.
So we brought him over, and he's coming over from California to do those shows with us in the new year, and he's going to come to Europe too.
Brilliant. Uh-huh. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time, Crispian. I wish you the best of luck with the album. Like I said, it's fantastic. I'm just going to go down really, really well.
Oh,
And
thanks.
I don't think I'll be in the UK, but I'm hoping to get to Paris when you, because I've seen you've got a date in Paris, but in the
Okay.
new year. So fingers crossed I get to see you there.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for chatting to me.